Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Today, as I said in the last video, is miter station day. So I got some hand-drawn, plans. Might be right, they might not be. I was kind of going off the measurement of the toolbox and the measurement of the wall, and now that everything's in place, we're actually going to do it for real. This is the saw that's going on there. My base is, I don't know, 20, I measured it, I don't remember, 20 and something. The original base that I had planned for this was 26 inches wide, but upon further review, I can get away with a much smaller base. I was worried about the swing of the arm coming over, and I think I can get away with that. So this is a very simple plan. It's 2x4s and plywood. You can do this with a circular saw. I'm not going to, because I don't like my circular saw. As I said in the past video, if you had to buy the material for this, you're probably going to be into it for about, let's say $80. And that depends on how big you make it. The reason I'm going with this plan is I was watching some videos, because that's what you do, right? Woodworkers do it too. I was watching some videos on how people built theirs. I'm going to get the name of the channel wrong. I'm pretty sure it was Patriot Woodworking or Patriot Woodworks. Anyway, he had a leg design that I really liked. And if it works as well as I think it's going to do, I'm probably going to end up rebuilding the base for this thing. Because as much time as I put into this to try and get it straight and square, it's not. If you look at that leg up there, it's like that. So anyway, so that's the plan. And I'll kind of bring you along as I'm doing this. I'm looking at the clock. It's 5:15. It's past dinner time, so I'm not going to work on it very long tonight. But I want to at least get the legs put together. And I'll explain to you the height that I'm going with and why and stuff like that. Okay, I believe the plans that I drew up call it for 37-inch height. Now that's going to seem maybe high to some people for a miter station. One, I'm getting older and I don't want to bend down. Okay, I don't want to bend over unless I have to. But this is going to be kind of incorporated into it, so to speak. So if I have to bring a board over top of this stuff's not going to be here. This is going to be open. And so if I need to lay a board across this, I'll be able to. So I have to go off of the height of this. Oh, folks, this is why we double check. This is actually 37 1/4. So I have to add 1/4 inch to everything to make that work out. I'm not making a fence system for this miter station because I don't really think I need one. So I'm going to go ahead, readjust my plans because I actually have them and I never use them. And so I figured I might as well. Maybe I'll get it right this time. And then I think for tonight, what we're going to do is get the legs put together. And then I'm going to go eat dinner. So let's get started on that. So I wasn't kidding when I said I had hand-drawn plans. This is the saw part of the miter station next to my fancy toolbox. You know it's the toolbox because it says so. So my original plans called for, I can't even see that, for 32 3/4 it looks like. Sure, looks like 32 3/4. I now know that I need to add 1/4 inch, so that's going to make me straight 33. I don't have a pencil. I never have a pencil. Okay, so I'm going to be able to get one leg per 2x4. And again, you're going to make this to the height that you're going to make it. Well, I can't wait to get this thing done so I can actually get this in place where it's going to go. Stay. I hooked up my dust collection loosely. This is a new saw. I'm going to have to see how it goes because for me to pull this forward, it's going to hit. Anyway, works better if you turn it on. feel like I made a mistake right off the bat. Because this doesn't look like 33 inches, and neither does that. It is certainly 33 inches. Oh, because of the design, which we're going to get into in a minute. I am smidgen long, and I think that's going to be okay. As it turns out, by the way, dust collection on this, I was worried about. But as the saw comes up, I'm able to slide over top of that. So we're in good shape. That's a little janky. I'm going to do a little bit better. Let me get that out of the way. Another 33 and we're good to go. I didn't even turn dust collection on. Oh, look, see, we can't have that. All right. Here's what this design is going to look like. Think of this. You know what? Let me get the camera changed so you can see it. Yeah, it'd be all right maybe if you could see it, huh? So think of this as one leg, with this being the base. And that's what your leg is going to look like. It kind of forms, I don't know what you want to call it, a fake half lap. It's going to be a nice design. I'm kind of happy about it. Actually, it's going to go this way. There we go. I guess it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out as we go. So I'm going to screw these together. I have somewhere 3-inch screws. You can screw it and glue it, but I always put things together so that they can be taken apart in case, because I live in a just-in-case world. So I'm going to get the rest of these cut up, get 4 legs done, maybe tomorrow after church. Yeah, I don't think there's anything going on tomorrow after church. Maybe tomorrow after church, I can get the rest of this knocked out. So here's the simplistic beauty of putting this together. Simply by going, and here's a scrap. I'll bring it down here, show you down here. You want this to be flush. You don't want the legs sticking up higher than that, because that's where your plywood's going. Okay, so I can simply stay clamp that into place, put that up to that, technical terms, clamp these together, double check down here, and it's perfect. Because all you're doing is leaving yourself a 2x4 distance, if you will. Now, 33, I forget what I said that was, 37. So my top, okay, I'm seeing a mistake that I made. Let me figure this out and I'll tell you where I messed up. Yeah, I figured out my mistake. Oh no, it's not a mistake. Hang on. Okay, so as it turns out, I'm not wrong. Today I get to be right. I forgot that I added a 1/4 inch because that toolbox is a 1/4 inch higher. So anyway, as I was saying, this is the simplistic beauty of this, is that once you have this clamped together, you're just screwing these 2 pieces together and then you're good to go. So I have a box, right here, box of screws. I am using 3-inch premium, really good exterior screws. And they were nice enough to give you one of these things. Let go. Okay, and then we just jam it together. I'm not going to go ballistic on the screws. I think what I'm going to do is alternate high and low as I come down. Maybe 4 total, I think would be plenty. Oh no! Denied. All right, well now I got to change batteries, but that's the gist. Okay, when all is said and done, that's your upright or whatever you want to call it. No, that's going to be the base. It's sitting wrong. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm going to change batteries, get these put together, and then I'm going to go eat dinner, and I will see you tomorrow. Hey, new day, back at it. So, as I said, I have to start at the toolbox and work that way. And I had originally had the pad for this to be 26 inches wide, which is fine, except I was wrong. I mean, in all honesty, that's the problem. When this comes over, when I'm kicking it over to this saw goes to, looks like 49 and I don't know, 49 and a quarter degrees or whatever. Anyway, it's gonna hit this piece, and I've been kind of going back and forth about how I want to take care of that. I think my best option is bring, y'all can't see, I got junk all over the place. I'm going to bring this board up to about here and then 45 it and then go that way, and that'll give me room for this to swing both ways. Okay, so the base, or whatever you want to call it, for the saw is done. In the end, after much deliberation and pulling my hair out and worrying about things, all that kind of stuff, I went with a square, 24 by 24. Basically, just a square with a center support. I happen to have a whole lot of this, so it doesn't need a whole lot. The saw's not that heavy. That's good enough for that. So let's get this out of the way. Oh yeah. The base and the top piece is essentially, looks like a ladder. 2 long pieces and then center supports. I'm gonna start throwing that together because it's 335 something, 25 or 6 to 4, I don't remember. So I need to get this thing hustling. I'm supposed to have this done today. So I'm gonna get that thrown together. I'll show you what that looks like, and then we're ready to, well, I gotta build a top too, but then we're ready to start putting legs on things. That'll be exciting. So as it turns out, having the saw on a bench is a bad idea, but I don't have any place else to put it because that's the only place I got to put the saw. So I got to build this down here. The only thing you're doing here is keeping this square. I took one of them giant plastic speed squares, drilled a hole in it. That way I can clamp it both ways. Acts like a corner clamp, which for shop furniture, we're not looking for precision here. I can look at it and tell you that it's square. So all I got to do is drill in. I almost made this mistake. Let me pass this on to you. These stretchers are 21 inches if you're making this 2 feet, 24 inches. Stretchers are 21 inches. I almost had it to the outside. Would have been a problem. Don't do that. Okay. Okay. Got to do that about 14,762 more times, and the base is done. Okay, here's the deal, folks. That last clip is basically where it ended. There was a tragedy that happened in the shop on Sunday, and I walked out. I'll show you what happened. This is basically where I left it. I got the rest of those stretchers, for lack of a better term, put in, and for some reason decided that I needed to get the piece of plywood down that was going to go on the top, and I was working on the base. I wasn't thinking. Anyway, when I was getting it down, there was the plywood. I was getting it down from there, had the saw on the bench, and that happened. I didn't have control of the plywood. It came down, hit the saw, knocked it off the bench, and it broke. At that point, I threw my camera stand across the shop and walked out and had myself a good old-fashioned pity party. So fortunately, everything on my mic stand, or on my camera stand, I keep loose. So when it went across the shop, there was no damage done to that. Sunday, I got home from church and I was exhausted, and I really didn't even want to come out into the shop. And I said, no, I need to get that finished. I have an opportunity to get a week ahead on videos, which I have not been a week ahead since I started this channel. And I came out anyway, even though I was tired. And, you know, I've already showed you the results of that. I guess if there's any tip involved there, it's if you don't feel like you're supposed to be in the shop, don't be in the shop. So what happened to the saw? Let's talk about that. Obviously, that's not where that goes. And the saw is currently kicked at a 30-degree angle, which it's not supposed to be. There's a piece that slides into here and connects here, and it's basically the piece that allows it to, I guess, articulate up and down. There's a spring somewhere. It's on the old piece. That's great. I could identify the part. I looked up the part number in the manual. There actually is a part number for it. I went to the Wen website, typed in the part number, and it's not available. I chose not to come back out to the shop and finish this because this is the saw that I'm building the miter station for. If I can't use this saw, then why am I building it? My wife, who gave me this saw along with a couple other people, Monday morning she called the Wen Corporation. There was a number that she could call, and she called them. She explained to them what happened. She told them how devastated I was and that this was the third tool of theirs that I own. And the gentleman was very nice. He said, I understand how that would be devastating. We'll have that part out to you within a week. Folks, I'm not sponsored by these people. I know everybody says that, but I'm not sponsored by anybody. I got this, you know, my wife paid for 90% of this with our own money. I like Wen tools because they're inexpensive and there's a certain amount of quality to them. Never have before have I had to deal with customer service. The fact that this gentleman got a non-available part and is getting it to me within a week, I'm going to say that says a lot for that company. It really does. The only question he asked was whether or not I could put the part on once it gets here, and my wife assured them that I could. I don't know what would have happened if she'd have said no, he can't. I'm guessing he asked that question for a reason, but none of that's relevant. It doesn't matter. The Wen Corporation is going to send me the part to fix this, and I'm going to fix it. And to me, that speaks volumes about that company. I will buy more of their tools. I like their tools. And so when I consider this a major tool. For me, this is a lot of money to spend on a tool. So for me, when I'm looking for the next major tool, I'm going to look to them. At some point, I'm going to retire that 1950s lathe that I have. And I happen to know that Wen sells a couple of benchtop lathes. So I will probably look to them whenever that time comes. All right, enough about the tragedy, enough about the saw. Because I'm getting the part and I'm going to get to keep this saw, now I need to get this miter station finished. So that's where we're at now. So we're going to set this down gently. And we're going to move forward. I did keep my old miter saw. I didn't get rid of it, and I'm not getting rid of it. I talked to you about that. It's by no means a precision instrument, but it's a good saw. And it has served me well for longer than 2 years. And so I'm not getting, plus it was given to me by a very dear friend that I don't have anymore. And so that saw will never go away for a couple of reasons. One, because of sentimental value, and two, because of instances just like this. So when it comes time to cut some more 2x4s, I'll go ahead and drag that bad boy down, and we'll get that, you know, fired up and ready to cut wood, and we'll get this thing finished up. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this base, and then we're going to start tacking legs onto it. So here's what I've learned. This is done. A couple things. I have what I consider, compared to Lowe's and Home Depot, very straight lumber, but it's still going to twist. It's just what it's going to do. This has a twist in it. I have it clamped down, but it's got a twist in it, and that's okay. Once it's put together, that should all come out. This is how the legs go in. I showed you showed you before, it's a fake half lap. These go in, screwed into place, and it just, the nature of this is that it almost forces itself to be square, because it's hitting this and it's up against that and it's lapped over that. Okay. The most important thing here is that you don't want the legs sticking up past what would be the top of this, because you have to put plywood on it. I think I'm just going to screw the legs in place and go ahead and put this out of the way. That's what I'm going to do. As soon as I move everything that's in the way, there's another piece of my saw. Two and a half inch screws is probably what I really needed here, because I wasn't taking into account that this is going to go further than what I wanted it to. I'm going to do 2 from one side and 1 from the other. Okay. And that's the legs. That's simple. They're in place. All right. Excuse me. As I said, I'll go ahead and get the legs on, set this out of the way, and then build what's going to be the base. Because this is now the top, but it used to be the base. I don't know. So at this point, this is what I have. This is kind of how it's going to be. It'll have plywood on the top. This is the height I wanted. I have to build the base. But this is the time, if you're building this, double check all of your cross pieces, because you don't want them sticking up, okay? Because you're going to have plywood going over top of this. You don't want gaps and stuff. Now, I guess it's not horribly important, but it is important. You know, if you got waves, if you're building this so that you can precision cut the length of the I don't, the length of the 8 foot, all of my stuff's rough cut. So technically I could say, yeah, it's fine. Except, remember I told you I had some plans for this beyond just being a miter bench. I'm going to have shelves and stuff that come up off of it. So I want this to be kind of close to straight. If I can, you know, squint and make it right, then that's what I need to do. So I went ahead and double checked some of these. Some of these I did have to drop down a little bit. Not a big deal. Unscrew it, drop it, screw it back in, done. I did find in my secondhand wood screws some 2.5 screws, because the 3-inch was coming straight through. You know, because if you do the math, 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches, that's 3. So, and I hammer them in, so they're sticking out, and I don't want to, you know, don't want to be catching that on there. So anyway, I'm going to build a base now. Remember what I said, it's got to be in, the width of it has to be 3 inches narrower than the width of the top. Okay. So I'm going to start that now. Seeing as how the saw is no longer on the bench, I'm going to actually use the bench to build this, and it'll make it a lot simpler. I just need to find someplace to put this crazy thing until I'm ready for it. I don't know. I'll find someplace or I won't. So the base is done, but it does have a bit of a twist in it. I think I can probably get that out once I set this inside of there and get it all attached. And that's what's next. All I gotta do now is figure out how to get that under there and have room to, you know, do what I need to do. Yeah, sure. This wood has sap in it too, because I am sticky. There we go. I am going to attach it to the wall with just a couple of screws just to hold it in place. So the base I'm not as worried about, but I do want this to be flat on the top. So I'll throw a level on it and stuff like that just to make sure this goes where I want it. Now it's just a matter of running some screws and getting the top on and putting it in place. One more thing I had forgotten about. I needed to 45 this corner so that when I swing the saw around, I have enough room to do that. I made a square, and that's not going to work. So I'd like to say that I just cranked this off really quick, but I didn't. I had to do some thinking. You know how hard that is for me. Oh, by the way, it's not a 45-degree angle. It's 22.5-degree angle. Okay, if you want a piece to go 45, it's going to be 22.5 on both sides. I know that now. So I have this screwed back in. Once this is put together, and it ain't perfect, and it doesn't need to be perfect. I just needed a little bit extra room for that. I'm just going to run screws back in here and back in there. I do see I need to back that up a little bit. And then once this is done, I can just jigsaw it. I'm done with the circular saw because that was a little sketchy. You know, cutting this straight up and down. Anyway, so that's something I forgot about, wanted to throw it in there. So I'm going to screw this together, make sure it's as close as I can get it. And then we'll put the top on, hack that corner off, and we're ready to proceed. Okay, got that in, screwed into place, pretty solid. Move my leg down, so because you had to. Now it's just a matter of throwing the top on, cutting that off. Then we got to figure out how to attach the other piece to it. So, you know, I'll get this knocked out, and then I don't know if I'm actually going to get to that today or not, because I got some stuff going on. This took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, but I'll get the top put on, and we'll move from there. So here's a neat situation. There's nothing neat about it at all, actually. Any change you make to this is going to have a ripple effect. I'm finding this out, of course, the hard way. I needed to make this 45, like I said, but then that means I'm moving this leg over. That's fine. But then that means that whenever I put my saw base on there, I have nothing to attach it to here. So now I'm going to have to put another upright in just for the purpose of attaching this. And I made a decision to change the size of the saw base without taking into consideration the amount of space that I have here. So I am roughly a ½ inch wide on this, so I'm going to have to address that as well. So I need to get an upright here, and I need to get this brought down by a ½ inch so that it'll actually fit into the space where it's supposed to go. So I'm not worried about the saw not fitting, but it's just one more thing. If you make one change, it affects everything else. So if you're just making it a simple rectangle, boom, you're good to go. But no, I got to go and, you know, play games and make life more difficult than it needs to be. So I'm going to get these little situations taken care of, and then I think I'm ready to get the height of the saw and get the base put in place. Okay, it is done, or at least as done as it's going to be for right now. I have plenty of space. I can get an 8-foot board. Again, I don't know why I need to cut an 8-foot board on the edge. That's another whole story. Anyway, it's at a great height. I'm happy with the height. There were things I ran into. Like I said, changing one thing, like putting a 45 on this, changes a whole bunch of other things that I didn't take into account for. And so this pad became a little bit of a nightmare because of height differences and things like, but, you know, persevere, folks. You know, persevere. I've said in another video, the Apostle Paul was all about persevering. So persevere, overcome it. There's supposed to be a motor attached to this. It's over there. That part is on its way. It'll be here a couple of 2 or 3 days. I don't remember. So what you're not going to see on this miter station is maple or walnut or purple heart or anything like that. This was built for a purpose, not to look pretty. I am all about function over form. So it does what I want it to do, or at least it will. It does what I want it to do. I have to build another one of these for the opposite side so that I can get those things off of my toolbox. This is not the end for this miter station. I'm probably going to put some kind of shelving up here. And the old wifey poo decided to order me a 5-pack of drawer slides for my birthday. because I told her I wanted to make drawers. I was going to make them without drawer slides, but she went ahead and bought them anyway, because you can do that with one click on Amazon. So that's pretty much it for this. Like I said, there's going to be some drawers in it. There's going to be some shelves up here to put stuff up on. And it's going to be a huge help, not only for my saw, but for organization as well. So that's about all I got. I do need to make a clamp rack, and I'm actually probably going to start that as soon as I sign off of this video. So if you watch the next video and I'm dressed the same, there you go. That's why. So, all right, it's pouring down rain, and it's almost dinner time. It's always almost dinner time when I'm talking to you folks. That's just how it is. In the meantime, thanks for watching. God bless you. I'll see you on the next one.